Coming up on today's episode, now after being a therapist for years and seeing so closely in this space the big pieces that are missing in our approaches, I've come to find that it's really not you. It's the bigger system that we've been told is what's supposed to fix us. I'm going to be taking some of the veil off of the therapy space, the holistic health space, the self-development space, and sharing a lot of what those big holes are. If you're ready to go beyond the short-term dopamine of aha moments and into real actionable approaches that will help you live a life that you truly love, you've come to the right place. This show is for intellectualizers and people committed to their healing and growth that want to get to that next level, optimize their lives, bring their holistic health into balance, regulate their nervous systems, and more. We're going to be talking about why what you've tried in the past to heal and grow hasn't gotten you to where you want to be. And since I've been a licensed therapist, I've worked in the holistic health space for over a decade, I have a degree in cognitive neuroscience, I'll be talking about my unique insider's perspective on the shortcomings of therapy, phenomena in the healing and growth space that I don't see anyone else talking about, and offer a relatable, authentic commentary about how we can be the best humans that we can be holistically. Welcome to After the Aha. We're going to take it beyond the aha dopamine highs so that you can tangibly start feeling your best. Welcome to the podcast. It has been a long time coming, and I'm so excited that I finally get to say that. Because ever since I started short form content, posting things on Instagram, I just have felt like I can't say as much nuance and complexity, and I can't go into the depth that I want to on these topics. I get a minute and a half, maybe. So these episodes are going to be doing a much deeper dive on some of the things that I already talk about, but it's also going to be giving you a little bit more of an insider's scoop of some of the things that are going on in my world, some of the context and perspectives that I have of being a professional in this space, and is going to be giving you a lot deeper of a dive into these topics so that we can go beyond the aha moments and the dopamine highs that we get from, oh, I get it, and into more tangible, tactful things that you can be doing now to really be regulating your nervous system, optimizing your life, bringing your best self forward, getting out of your own way and onto your own team. So I cannot wait to dive in. And this episode is going to be a lot about really just setting the stage of who I am in case we've never met. Or if you've been following me for years, you might not know some of my story, some of the background that gives context to this. So we're going to be diving into some of that here. And we've never met before. Hi, I'm Morgan. I'm the creator behind Mindsight Guidance. And I'm also the creator and founder of the Seven Center System. I was on the struggle bus for many years. I'm in the middle of writing a book right now, and I just got done writing the chapter about when I was in the thick of it. And it's really cool to look back on and see how far I've come and how much of that is attributed to the Seven Center System that I created. And I'll talk more about the Seven Center System throughout all of this, but like, where do we go back to? I mean, starting at 15, I was troubled in the sense that I was very anxious, really hated myself. I was definitely in the line of perfectionism. And yeah, I definitely thought about not being around a lot, had a lot of suicide ideation. So I started going to therapy, and my depression kicked up throughout that time. And yeah, really just never stopped. I went to therapy for years and years and years, highly intellectual. I was really able to understand what was going on, and I knew what I should do. Now, honestly, I did a lot of the right things, right? I was eating well, exercising, I would meditate, journal, go to therapy for years, and just was like many of you and many of the clients that I see, feeling stuck and feeling like I must be broken. It must be me, right? Because at the end of the day, I'm doing all the things that the professionals are telling me I should do, and it's not getting better. Things aren't getting better. And if you're in that space right now, I have so much empathy for how challenging that place can be. And so that's a huge part of my work, is really helping people get unstuck, because each person is going to have their own customized, unique journey. But there are some big elements that now, after being a therapist for years and seeing so closely in this space the big pieces that are missing in our approaches, I've come to find that it's really not you. It's the bigger system that we've been told is what's supposed to fix us. And there's a lot of holes in that system. And so I really am going to be taking some of the veil off of the therapy space, the holistic health space, the self-development space, and sharing a lot of what those big holes are and helping fill them in for you. So at 15, I started going to therapy, really not seeing any progress, but I had a near-death experience that really shook me and helped me come to terms with my bigger purpose and why I'm here on the planet. And after that, I decided to go get my undergraduate degree in cognitive neuroscience, wellness, and human biology. And I got my master's degree in clinical mental health with an emphasis in somatic therapies, which is definitely a mouthful. Through that process, I was learning so much about the science and diving into the brain and consciousness and all of the theories that are out there in terms of how we're supposed to help heal and support the human psyche. And a lot of what I was learning, and this is one of the big holes that I find and we'll talk about a lot, is that we are intellectualizing our process so much. We're keeping it all up in the head. And a lot of this has to do with the history of psychology and the development that we've had as a bigger field. Freud is he's an interesting guy, but he did do a lot in terms of helping us understand that if we can talk about it, if we can hash it out through talk therapy, that we don't have to treat people in the same sort of ways that we were before with lobotomies and some of these very grotesque ways of treating mental health back in the day. So he really shifted the field in terms of helping us be able to work through our psyche with someone else. And that was essentially some of the start of the talk therapy in the way that we still do it today. And when this was happening, he really created a lot of focus on the mind. And that still is a foundation of psychology and the ways that we approach healing and growth. And thankfully, there are people like Peter Levine. There's books like Body Keeps the Score, to where we've started to, as a collective, see that it's not just our mind up in our heads. We are an entire nervous system and body that stores our trauma, and our body needs to be considered in this entire process. And so thankfully, we've started having some of those awarenesses and implementations through things like somatic experiencing and other somatic therapies. However, that's still just the mind and the body. And even then, they still can feel very separate. Everything still feels so fractured. And so we really need ways to regulate our nervous systems and bring our holistic health into balance in our day-to-day. That leads me to kind of my next thing around, we've got intellectualization, which is a huge topic in itself, and we'll do episodes completely on that, kind of doing a bigger overview. But another huge thing is that no matter what, one-on-one therapy, just at any point, know that I am never going to be bashing one-on-one therapy. It has been actually a lifesaver for me. I wouldn't be a therapist if I didn't believe in it. That being said, the structure of therapy can be limiting because we only have one person that we talk to once a week, if that. Some people go every other week, some people go once a month. And no matter how good your therapist is, we only have an hour. And of course, there's layers to that of a lot of the time we end up intellectualizing throughout that whole session. Like we're able to I did this for years. I was able to say all the things I was learning in books, say all the things I was learning in podcasts. I was so impressive to my therapist. My therapist is like, why are you even here? What are you talking about? And it's like, well, I feel really bad on the inside and I'm trying to tell you all the stuff that I've learned about to help solve this problem that is me, but I wasn't feeling any better. And so we can spend a lot of the time just like venting or cycling back what happened that week, or we can be talking about all the things that we learned, but it's not really moving the needle and getting us to feeling better. And so we can spend a lot of the time intellectualizing in that way. And then on top of that, it's not really just about your therapist learning that and being able to like come and solve the problems for you. Ultimately, a lot of the time we have given a lot of the power to the expert in the room to give us the answers. I hope that therapists are asking questions and staying curious and helping you find your own answers, but that doesn't always happen. But no matter what, say you aren't intellectualizing and say that your therapist is being so curious and present, which I hope both of those things are happening in therapy. No matter what, no matter how good your therapist is, you will not have enough time within an hour once a week to really be able to get enough repetitions that you need in order to change your long-term pattern. Because we need a lot of repetitions, and it takes a baby over 2,000 steps to learn how to walk. That means that a baby needs to take 2,000 steps before your brain really starts to say, this is important. We really want to keep this around. We're creating neural pathways and neural highways, which are essentially shortcuts for your brain to save energy and not have to think about things that they're doing a lot. Your brain takes up a lot of energy. It takes up 20% of your body's overall energy, which is very energetically expensive. And so your brain needs to come up with shortcuts. And so it does that through neural pathways. Your brain's language of understanding what to keep around and what neural pathways to create all comes through repetitions. So things that you're doing a lot, thoughts that you're having, behaviors that you're doing, things like walking. If you're taking steps consistently, your brain's going to say, oh, we're doing this a lot. I don't want to have to keep every single time starting from scratch. I'm going to create a neural pathway, a neural highway to make it a shortcut in my brain so that I don't have to keep doing that. And now, probably walking without thinking about it too much, it's on autopilot. And that happens not just behaviorally and bodily functionally through chewing or doing these things that we do on a daily basis. It also happens with how we respond to stress. It happens with how we communicate with others, our thoughts and our feelings. Those things are also very practiced. What do I believe about myself? What kind of ways do I respond to myself when I mess up? All of these things are these underlying neurological patterns that we can get down to and rewire, but we cannot do that in a one-on-one session once a week, right? So we really need to recognize that the work comes outside of the session, and most people don't have a structure or a framework or anything to follow outside of sessions. You might have homework, but most of the time the accountability isn't fully there. You still aren't, no matter what, getting enough repetitions in. And I like to say, my little spiel on this is that most of the time people will try something 5-10 times if we're lucky, and then they're not an expert at it, and then they fall off, and then they say, well, that didn't work for me. And I like to remind 2,000 steps for a baby to learn how to walk. That's a lot of falling. Think about a baby in your life. If you've ever seen a baby learn how to walk, what happens? What's the ways that we respond to a baby when they learn how to walk? I can imagine that it's very supportive. We're not telling a baby, oh, you're so stupid. Oh, baby, why don't you know how to do this already? We're not judging them. We have positive regard, and we give them a structure with our hands. They find structure with couches, and they find things that can support them and offer a scaffolding to lean on in between to get all of those repetitions in. And we need that. If we want to rewire our brains, change our patterns, feel more safe, feel more calm, feel more confident, all these things that we're trying to do, we need a structure and a framework to lean on. And that's one of the biggest things that I found as I studied and as I got all these certifications and as I got licensed and as I got close enough to recognize that, wow, we're intellectualizing a lot. We're not bringing our body into things. There's lots of other reasons, like we're not integrating community. We're relying on one person, like our therapist, to give us these answers and outsourcing our power. We don't have a structure or framework to follow outside of our therapy sessions. We're not getting in enough repetitions. Like there's thing after thing that's like, wow, this bigger system is not built to really support us in the ways that we need to get unstuck and to really step into the lives that we're trying to live. And this is a whole nother episode in itself. I was very science heavy for a long time, and I didn't have space for the spirit. I didn't have belief in something bigger, and that was creating a lot of disconnect in my life. And so that's also a whole nother thing in the conversation of we don't have a space to explore holistically. Holistically means mind, body, and spirit, for whatever that is for you. So because I didn't have this bigger system, I decided to create it. And as I did, I started seeing some huge shifts in my life. Once I created the 7-center system, which again, I'll talk way more about. I also have links if you want to explore. I've got a free seminar and you can talk with my team more about it if you want to learn more. But once I created the 7-center system and I started implementing it into my life, things started dramatically changing. And when I say that, I'm not trying to sell you something. It really was just once I filled in the missing pieces that this system wasn't providing for me naturally, things started changing, and it's a bi-directional thing. Once I started to see the world and myself differently through the ways that I was organizing my holistic health and what I was doing on a day-to-day and the ways that I was regulating my nervous system, what came in also changed. And I think that's a fascinating, again, that'll be a whole nother episode on the reticular activation system, which is like our brain's algorithm, because there are so many data points that are always coming into our brains. Our brains have to have a filter in the same way that you could never see the amount of YouTube videos that are out there, the amount of Instagram videos that are out there. Your algorithm helps you filter through some of those things so that you can find what's the most relatable to you, what you'll actually like. So your brain's doing the same thing with your reticular activation system. What I found was that as I was using this 7-center system that I had built, what was coming into me was also changing. And this is where we can get into some of that grounding the woo-woo and getting into the neuroscience of manifestation and things, because the more that we can program our reticular activation system, the more that our actual realities start to change. Like, I went from having friends that would betray me, I was in abusive relationships, everything that I tried just wasn't working out, to having an incredible community, to having people that were there for me that I can count on, that I had things start working and flowing, and it felt like I was in sync. And it's hard to speak to how truly reality shifting that is when you find the click and when you learn how to combine all of these things and fill in the holes of this healing and growth system. When we do that at an individual level and when we're in community with other people who are doing that, we can truly become unstoppable. So I'm excited to dive into all of these topics and more. I know that this was sort of a teaser episode, if you will, that there will be so much more to come. So if you are interested in any of these topics, go ahead and comment below and let me know which ones you're excited to hear more about, so that I can really get your votes in there and make sure that we spend a little bit more time. If you have questions on any of the things that I covered, I can also make sure and answer them in our next episodes. And if this was helpful for you at all, go ahead and share with other people. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you're on Spotify or Apple, go ahead and leave a 5-star review so that we can show Spotify that we're doing something that you all like. So cannot wait to see you in the next episode. And yay, it's finally happening.